because at the end of the day, I think you just realize how small the world is,
Yeah.
and you're just running into the same people. We do deals across a variety of markets, and we're still running into the same people over
Yeah.
and over in all these different markets.
Yeah.
And so relationships they're such the cornerstone of your business, because you may have a friend that today he works for Arby's. I'm just throwing out a name, and you guys are good friends. You've done a couple Arby's deals. Maybe your friend looks for a change, and then next year he works at Starbucks. Oh, now you've got a relationship at
Yeah.
Starbucks that you didn't know, and he needs a developer or a broker, and you're the
Mhm.
first person on his mind.
Hey friends, welcome back to Commercial Real Estate Unfiltered. I'm your host, Caleb David. And today we're going to be talking to Brittany Megrath. She's the principal and managing broker of M Square Commercial, a Las Vegas-based brokerage she founded in 2019. Under her leadership, MSC has grown from a Nevada retail tenant representation firm to a national operation active in more than 60 markets in 15 states, completing over 41 million in transactions. A CCIM designee and FMVA certified professional. Brittany is licensed in Nevada, Georgia, and New Mexico, and is an active member of the International Council of Shopping Centers, which is known to us as ICSC. So, thank you so much for being here, Brittany. It's great to connect with you. And boy, you started in 2019. So, some people would say not the best timing. Not everything is what meets the eye. So, maybe share a little bit about how you got into this business and kind of your experiences post 2019.
Yes, thank you for having me, Caleb. I'm excited to be here. And yes, it's so funny because actually today I was on a call earlier with a broker coach and friend of mine, and he was talking about two brokerages that he used to coach. They were small shops that actually closed during
Mm,
COVID. And in my mind, I was thinking, wow, that's when I opened and really started ramping up. At the time, I was working in-house with a fitness franchise here
okay.
in Las Vegas. They were called True Fusion, and I was a real estate manager in-house.
Okay.
And so I was the point of contact for all of the franchisees and their brokers for their real estate expansion.
Yeah.
We had a preferred brokerage firm that we recommended all of our franchisees use, which is Morrow Hill. They are
Mhm.
still there today. They're based in Dallas, Texas, and they specialize in these franchise rollouts.
Mhm.
So they do a lot of retail leasing for different concepts. And I was their main point of contact at True Fusion. And I really learned so much from working with John Hill and his team, and
Mhm.
really started to realize that, wow, you can be a broker and you don't necessarily need to focus in any market. You can be working with franchisees and clients all across the country.
Yeah.
And that was a very big eye-opening experience for me, seeing
Yeah.
how they were doing things. I had my real estate license at the same time, and I worked locally at a small boutique firm here in Las Vegas. And I would do showings on my lunch breaks and kind of go back and forth between the two. And yeah, when COVID hit, I officially made the leap. I started my own brokerage firm 2019, and my first client was one of the True Fusion franchisees.
Wow.
And so with him, I knew his territories that he was looking to expand into. And we just started calling like
Yeah.
all over the country. He had at first Chicago, New York, some of these big high
Wow.
profile markets. And then as COVID really hit, and there was the big shift from these
Yeah.
markets into the Sun Belt, I remember him calling and waving the red flag. Get out of New York, get out of Chicago. We're going to Atlanta and we're going to Denver and Salt Lake City. And but he was really my first step and my first experience with doing deals,
Yeah. Yeah. What an interesting transition for you to be seeing on the other side of it. But I would imagine that kind of helped you in your role in getting into brokerage, that
yeah.
having that interaction knowledge was super helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it was great just seeing how even little things like how they organize stuff, how are they
Mhm.
tracking doing so many deals at once?
Yeah.
And I really took some of those processes and tried to implement them for myself on the flip side. And I think I've written John and done lots of thank you and thank you for teaching me. I'm not sure if you realized you were teaching me or that I was
Yeah.
looking at you as a mentor. At the end of the day, he really was. And I'm a big believer in you can really make anyone a mentor of yours.
Hmm.
They don't necessarily need to know it. I don't think it
Yeah.
needs to be a formal discussion or
Yeah.
anything like that. But if you are around someone that is constantly teaching you and doing things that you feel like you would aspire to do one day, that's your opportunity to really just
Yeah.
soak up all of that information. And then one day when you're ready, you can implement everything that
Mhm.
you've learned from that person and your experience,
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah.
And he was that for me.
That's
So
awesome. And it's rare to, at least from what I've seen, it's rare to find someone who is working with you and willing to share. One thing that strikes me too is I wonder how you being on the other side of the table, being the franchise, being that
mhm.
point person, how do you think that affected you in how you relate to these different franchises that you work with?
I think you definitely have a realization that the franchisees can only really do so much. You get a good
Mhm.
understanding of the system a
Yeah.
little bit between and the relationship between franchisee and franchisor. Certain areas, there's probably some flexibility, but certain areas, there's probably not.
Hmm.
And so I did get to look under the curtain, if you will, a little
Yep.
bit through my experience working in-house. And now when we do meet franchisees that have a franchisor also monitoring them
Hmm.
or holding their hand, you can have a better understanding of what that relationship really is.
Yeah, because it is very unique, right? It's not just your typical business where it's like you've got the business owner and you've got the landlord that you're working through. You
Yep.
now are adding in a third component and a third person that needs to be involved in overseeing the process.
Yeah.
What are some of the fun brands and companies you've been able to work with?
Yes, Seven Brew Coffee is one that we've been working with down in southern Louisiana. Take Five Oil Change, Valvoline. We've did a Dutch Bros deal in Atlanta, Georgia, and Tucker.
Yeah.
We've sold recently to a Culver's franchisee in High Point, North Carolina. So we've got a ton of deals and they're all a little bit different. So we're on the sell side. We manage an
Hmm.
excess land portfolio where we've sold to concepts as well.
Yeah.
Strickland Brothers purchased a property of the seller that we were representing also in the Georgia market. We've worked with hotel concepts. So some of your extended stays,
Yeah.
like your Choice, a
Mhm.
lot of those different brands, and a lot of tenants. We've also got a car wash tenant that we're expanding in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, and that's Mod Wash.
Okay.
They are corporate tenants and they've got about 125 locations
Wow.
spanning from Florida all the way up to New Jersey and about as far west as Ohio down to Alabama.
Okay.
But it's been an exciting opportunity and it's really awesome just meeting all of these different concepts and even working with them again and again in different capacities, whether
Mhm.
it's just as a broker or on the helping with a build to suit. I just, yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a great experience so
that's
far.
awesome. People have said, I've heard it so often, retail is dead. Talk to me about your thoughts.
I disagree. I do think retail is shifting. So, a lot of the consumers, obviously, there's Amazon and a lot of products that we can now order online. Models like your Walgreens and your CVS and your Rite Aid, that type of business model is gone,
Yeah.
really. The things that you used to be able to stop in at your neighborhood Rite Aid, people are buying on Amazon. And
Yeah.
so they're taking away that trip they're taking away that trip altogether.
Yeah.
But your services like your fast food restaurants, your oil change, your car wash, a lot of these freestanding concepts are exploding. Growth is on their mind and they are moving quick.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a rapidly expanding retail product, and
Yeah.
that translates across all asset classes like your food, automotive, convenience, gas
Mhm.
stations are expanding. I guess it depends on how you look at
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. I actually had someone on a few weeks ago that has done retail and development as well. And she said she did the research and 87% of people are still buying at retail. And I think
Yeah.
it's just shifted what it is. And I think that's the point you just pointed out is that picking up a bag of chips or whatever, deodorant, you're not getting that at Walgreens anymore. You're just
Mhm.
ordering it online. You've got your subscription or whatever, however you set it up.
Yeah.
But then you're going out to eat and seeing the QSRs expanding and growing.
Yeah.
Why do you think that these types of service-based businesses and QSRs are exploding so much?
I think there are still a lot of people that are out and about. They want to pick up. Convenience is everything right now, and
Mhm.
it's only getting more and more of a priority with everyone from how they act on a daily basis to what they buy, how they're buying it. So I think a lot of these services are quick, easy,
Mhm.
and it just gets the job done without a lot of thought,
Yeah,
really. And
yeah,
some of these concepts now are experiential.
mhm,
Seven Brew blast music. They've
yeah,
got these young kids taking orders outside. It's not just coffee, it's
yeah,
people are going there and it's setting someone's day upright with an
yeah,
energy drink, and they're driving through somewhere with music. And so I think it really impacts your mood.
yeah,
Also, these traffic generators where all of these retailers want to be located, they're still driving 2.5, 3 million people. Walmart still pulls 2.5 to 3 million people at some of their locations.
wow.
So you put your QSR or your oil change in front of that Walmart or in close proximity,
Mhm.
2.5 to 3 million people are still driving by your store.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
location still does matter. And
yes,
in these areas where there is heavy traffic generators, people are of the mindset of, I'm coming to this area. Now I'm going to stop and start picking up everything I need.
mhm,
In the habit in this area of stop and go. I'm
yeah,
parking, I'm getting more
yes,
versus if someone's located in a corridor where people are just driving heavily past, people aren't prone to stop. And
yep,
so you're going to get a lot less traffic if you're located in a corridor where people are just trying to get onto the highway.
yeah.
So positioning is important.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I love is that recently I've been noticing that Costco's and Trader Joe's, they're super complementary and they very often are next to each other.
Yes.
And I think that just getting into that mindset and understanding of, and for you to actually speak the words out, because for me, I'm not going to drive to Trader Joe's just for Trader Joe's. I'm going to go when I got to go to Costco and Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
But
You
to
get
have,
hungry and then you see a smoothie place or
yeah,
need a coffee. Like it's all
yeah.
right there, all of your services.
Yeah, and you touched on this already, but what's like the lasting importance of strategic site selection? Obviously, the driving of traffic, but I know there's more that developers are looking for other than just traffic. What are some of those other things?
Oh, yes. So access is going to be one. So you can have 20,000 cars is typically like an industry standard, I'll say, of traffic, but you've also got to acknowledge the median. Is this a full access lane
Yeah.
or can it only get right in, right out? If a site can only get right in, right out, now you're really only getting 10,000 cars, not
Mhm.
20,000 cars. Recently, we came across a great corner site. You couldn't get into this corner. And
Mm.
then you wonder why it's been available for so long. The access is
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
So, access into these sites is really important. Even if it's an interior pad, you can still have full access through cross access drives that
Yep.
go across other
Yep.
businesses. But you want ease. You want the consumers to be able to get to your location.
Yep.
And so that is a very big site selection driver is
Yeah.
having full access.
Yeah. And understanding the behavior of people, I
Yeah.
think, is huge. For example, like a Dutch Bros or a Starbucks, they want to be on your way to work side of the street.
Yes.
versus just any site. So there's a lot of nuance to it
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and understanding the psychology of people. And so you've talked a little bit about identifying properties, but one thing that I'd love to talk to you about is what does it take to identify and then to secure off-market properties?
Mhm.
Because I feel like we're starting to see a lot more of that. So what has been your experience in identifying and securing those?
Yeah, so typically we are guided by the client or the tenant on a specific area or intersection, even that they want to be located. And again, it's typically where you see the grocery store or the Walmart and a
Mhm.
lot of these other retailers. And depending on that tenant's site requirements, whether it's a half acre, 2 acres, if the developer will go up to 3 acres and turn it into a multi-tenant site, really like hone into these trade areas and start researching parcel by parcel to
Yeah.
make sure that the tenant can fit. And then we research the ownership of the property and start making calls and essentially door knocking these
Yeah.
owners up and down the block to see where there's an opportunity, meaning will that property owner sell?
Yeah.
And if so, what at what price point? And we
Right.
just start digging out these opportunities one by one in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So you've also talked about selling property to other developers and other chains and that sort of thing. So how do you educate sellers who may not understand what their property value actually is?
We do perform a broker opinion of value and we pull comp
Mhm.
sales in the market, and then we also dive in to understand what improvements have already been made on the property. Because a lot of the sites that we represent are excess land from another development, meaning when our client originally purchased a property, they bought 3 acres and it was all driven by the tenant that's on 1 acre portion of
Mhm.
the property. And now they've got 2 acres left over that they need to figure out what to do with.
Yeah.
But through the initial development, there's probably a shared access drive that's
Mhm.
been put in place. Utilities have been brought closer to the property or now at the property line. Due diligence was initially
Mhm.
performed on both sides of the property. So if the developer has a lot of this documentation or has performed some of this work already, that's added value that they've
Yeah.
added to the vacant land. And not only that, they've built a national tenant on a portion of the site already.
Yeah.
And so those things that are not necessarily, I don't think they're as obvious, but they
Yeah.
are valuable. So now it's not just vacant land, it's vacant land next to Starbucks.
Yeah.
Wants to be next to Starbucks. Yeah. And so that is value, and we do work to really put a price point on that.
Mhm.
And so that's all performed in our broker opinion of value.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing you talk about, and I really love this, is, that you have relationship building as a cornerstone of your site acquisition process. Talk to me about how important relationship is.
Yes, it is. It's funny because I feel like relationships and the relationship business is something you hear a lot of people say, and I don't feel like you really understand what it means until you get a little further along and you get real deep into the business, because at the end of the day, I think you just realize how small the world is
Yeah.
and you're just running into the same people. We do deals across a variety of markets, and we're still running into the same people over
Yeah.
and over in all these different markets.
Yeah.
And so relationships they're such the cornerstone of your business, because you may have a friend that today he works for Arby's. I'm just throwing out a name, and you guys are good friends. You've done a couple Arby's deals. Maybe your friend looks for a change, and then next year he works at Starbucks. Oh, now you've got a relationship at
Yeah.
Starbucks that you didn't know, and he needs a developer or a broker, and you're the
Hmm.
first person on his mind. And we've got some interns that we have been bringing on to teach them, and we do a lot of I teach them about site submissions and when you send a property to a retailer,
Hmm.
how you want to make it, you want to put all of the important bullet points up front in
Yeah.
that email, make it easy for
Yeah.
them. Another part of it is if you've ever looked at a territory map for these retailers, one guy's got the whole Northwest, he's got 6 states.
Yeah.
How many brokers are there in 6 states
Right.
sending this their properties? if you're his friend and he sees, oh, Caleb, oh, there's an email from Caleb,
Yeah.
my friend, let me open it and see what Caleb has to say because he's always sending me great
Yeah.
sites. Just being known and him knowing you, and whether that's through multiple meetings at ICSC or maybe you guys have done deals before,
Yeah.
but familiarity also stands out in the inbox,
Yeah.
you know?
Agreed.
And so it's just little things like that because you're competing. You can throw a rock and hit a broker.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many of us. And so it's just the relationships are really what are going to set you apart from everyone else, what
Mhm.
are going to set you apart from AI, all of these things. It's
Yeah.
you that's
Yeah.
really going to make a difference at the end.
Yeah, I love because I was just about to make that bridge between relationship and AI. Because I think there
Mhm.
is some value to using that resource without losing that humanity and that touch. So, how would you say that boutique firms can leverage AI in these times?
Yes, I think there's a lot of leverage and speed, efficiency, and processing that can be done through AI.
Yeah.
And it's almost having an intern or having an administrative assistant that if you can train it well enough, you can really start to get some of these processes automated. And I think it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
But even right now, I'm looking into Terracotta
Oh,
AI.
okay.
And it researches property owners. It sifts through all of the phone numbers that you would typically pull up for an owner.
Mm,
It really can confirm which one is the correct number, like at the drop
amazing.
of a hat.
Because
And
before, I don't know what you used to do, but like for
oh,
me, I would go to the assessor site, find out what LLC owned it, then go to the Secretary of State, and then be like, okay, who filed it? Is
yeah,
there someone else who filed it that's not them? And it's just this whole like you're going all over the place.
oh yeah, it can take you a half hour, depending on how well someone's hidden, to just find the slew of potential phone numbers that go
Yeah.
with a property. And I think certain sites do try to figure it out. Prexy Pro will say, oh, this is a verified number. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. It really, like maybe it isn't. If it's not, we're still hitting that full list of 20 numbers
Yeah.
where maybe 18 are disconnected and two you get to leave a voicemail and see
Yeah.
if they call you back. And so any type of efficiencies you can add to processes like that is it's
Yeah.
time saving, like right off the bat.
Absolutely. And time is just thinking through like how we're making decisions right now with the QSRs, with the experiential and buying, our buying has changed. Time is the most valuable asset that I think that we have. And so I think that's what we're seeing is, and that's one way to leverage your time more. So talk to me about like some of the real world applications when you're doing site research. Obviously, you're getting phone numbers quicker. What are some other things that you look for when you are looking for a site and putting it into AI to help identify as quickly as possible if it is a suitable site?
Yes. So a new thing that I'm trying to also implement is an AI process for zoning.
Mm,
And so I'm actively taking this class, CRE AI Studio
okay.
by Topher Stevenson.
Okay.
And it's a CRE group essentially where they are providing training for commercial real estate professionals in how to implement AI into their business.
Mm,
And one of the new things, I've still got to catch up and go through all the videos, but it's how to quickly identify zoning.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is
Huge.
another layer of finding some of these off market opportunities because I don't want to present a site that, oh, yeah, they'll sell. We got in contact with the owner, they'll sell. Oh, but your use is prohibited here. Then it's dead. So
Yeah.
so that's another layer of is something an opportunity or not is not just the ownership, but the zoning code.
Yeah.
And the zoning code and AI is another layer that I think we are going to quickly learn how to pull together and streamline that process.
Mhm.
Because right now we're looking up
Yeah.
different municipalities and the zoning code and the
And,
permitted uses table.
and that can be really difficult to find. It is like a needle in a haystack,
It
and it
is,
just
yes.
takes, it can be very laborious. As we're seeing things change, I found that commercial real estate is typically lagged behind residential when it comes to adopting whether it be AI, tech, different things like that. What is the importance of continuous learning and adding new tools? How important is that to commercial real estate?
I think it's very important. And I think the evolution of AI and implementing AI is really going to start driving different firms apart and setting firms apart because,
Yeah.
as you stated, commercial real estate has been a little archaic in a lot of its processes. I still work with landlords that require wet signatures on leases.
Right.
And the tenant has to mail the lease to the landlord's office before he'll sign it. And stuff like that, where you just wonder in your mind, like, how we've got DocuSign, it's 2025, there's AI out there. And
Yeah.
we're still mailing paper back and forth a little
With a
bit.
paper check.
Yeah, yeah. That's been the industry for so
Yep.
long. And I think, we do know that. I think that's been a realization that's really been the forefront of a lot of conversations over the past couple of years. And we have seen commercial real estate players step up in marketing, social media. And I think the people that are taking advantage of it and the firms that are taking advantage of it are really going to set themselves apart.
Yeah.
And I think that's really all you can try to do in this
Yeah.
business.
Because I don't know how if you found this, but at least in my market here in Colorado, with interest rates over the last couple of years being a little bit higher, land is taking longer to sell. And so even just driving traffic, period, I think things just like even just walking a property and doing Instagram story, trying to get as many eyes on it as possible. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that when clients hire me, I'm like, we leverage social media. We could do it better, absolutely. But that's something that people are starting to, like building owners and sellers are starting to realize, oh, you don't just put up a sign. This isn't 2022 anymore. 21
Yep.
and 22, it's all you had to do is put up a sign. And like people were calling. And that has changed. And so we have to change with the market and
Mhm.
adjust our expectations and how we implement our ideas into it. We talked a little bit about zoning challenges. And this isn't just necessarily a topic where it's yes, you can do this, no, you can't. There's things like permitted uses, there are conditional uses. And then also, I think what people don't think about is the city in which that they're doing. How friendly are they to developers? How friendly are they to progress? There's two towns that I can think of right now up and down my area that I'm like, anytime someone wants to do something there, I'm like, no, I don't want to do this because
Yeah.
it's an uphill battle, right? So, how do you handle politically sensitive or complex municipal approvals? Because you
Yeah.
can't, just because you want to do it doesn't mean you can.
Yeah, no, of course. And most of our clients will bring on local players to help them. And so if we're in New Jersey or Southern Louisiana or the Carolinas, Georgia, a lot of times the civil group, or if you're required to bring on local attorneys, will really help know the process, know the politics, and help push you forward. I have had some deals where they are very political and we still were seen as outsiders. And in those cases, I turn to the sellers because if they are active in their community
Mhm.
as a local boots on the ground developer,
Yeah.
they typically have some political connections or ties to the community. And it's in these times where I really believe in communication
Mhm.
with parties, even when you're under contract. And once we're under contract, we've agreed to all the terms. Now we need to work together to get to the end of the contract.
Correct.
Your goal as the seller, you want to get the check. Our goal on the buy side is to get our development approved so that we can close and start construction and get our tenant
Yeah.
up and running.
Yeah.
And so I believe in coming together, and I have had times, multiple times actually in the Northeast, where I've had to go turn to the seller and say,
Mhm.
we're getting stuck, we're getting some pushback. Can you help us?
Yeah.
Is there anyone you know at the planning department, or do you know the mayor? Do you know any of the government officials that are overseeing this area? Because at the end of the day, sometimes it's those relationships. If you can leverage your sellers' relationships,
Yeah.
there's value there. You shouldn't look at the other side as, I don't like competition
Right.
or they're there and I'm here and we're totally segregated. Like
Yeah.
once you're under contract, there's a greater good that we're all fighting for now,
Yes.
and it's to get the
Yes.
deal done.
And I think it's not just that pushing through mentality. It is that, like we talked about earlier, that relationship-based model. Because the thing is, if you can get it one deal done and you've earned the respect of the people in that process, when you have another client that wants to develop there, they're going to remember that. You know,
Yes.
you've already greased the wheels, so it's like you don't have to do it all over again. And I think people really do, when you come with excellence, when you come with communication, I would say 98% of the time, those people are going to give you that respect and want to work with you again in the future. But do you have any behind the scenes examples? Like if you had mentioned Springfield Car Wash Project.
Yes.
So maybe share a little about it.
Springfield was one of our painful municipal approval processes. And I'm going to have to, I should have brushed up on this before
No.
our call to remember the specifics. But so Springfield has a local town, like a town board that has approval rights. So it's
Mhm.
just individuals that live in that town that can come together
Wow.
and they can vote on if they want you in their community.
Wow.
And yes, and it is a very powerful little community.
So even if the zoning is already pre-approved for the use, you still have to get the approval from these town board members.
So we were conditional as a car wash.
Okay.
And before we went to planning, the planning department needs to know that the town approved you. So the town is your first step before you go to planning.
Got it.
And so there were a couple layers here because it was also election
Mm.
time. And we ended up having to extend our contract and postpone some of our submissions so that the election could pass. And because just in case we were able to get the support of the new elected official and the town went against him, he didn't lose his votes from
Right.
the residents. So we had to extend the contract past the election so that everyone could be secure in their seats before making any decisions with regard to our use. Then it took us multiple meetings with the town, and I did have to end up getting the seller involved
Mm.
in this transaction. The seller was so the building that we were purchasing was actually I'm going to say this wrong, like a cremation.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a multi-generational building
Yeah.
that had been there, and it was a part. People saw it as a historical building as part of their community. Whether it was actually deemed historical or not, the
Right.
residents felt it was very important to them, and they did not want to see it replaced with the car wash. And so we had to have multiple meetings with the community. We had to adhere to different things. We will not play music. Typically, Mod Wash likes to play music and make it a nice experience at the car
Mhm.
wash. This location, we had to say we will not play music. I think there might even have been some color
Mhm.
requirements on the exterior.
Yeah.
What types of colors can we use or not use? But we ended up having to go to the town meeting like 3 or 4 times because
Wow.
they wouldn't approve us.
Wow.
And we had to get the list of everyone that was showing up at these town meetings, and you can see where their address is. And then we had to bring it up when they were voting against us. Some of these people don't even live in the community. Like they're showing up at the community voting against us, and they live like 10 miles outside of town. What are we doing here? But people would call their friends. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, I live here. Uncle Joey, Aunt Sam,
Yeah.
come to the meeting and support me because I don't want a car wash being built behind our house. And so you would get some of this support,
Yeah.
friends and family, but they were coming from outside the community. It's so it was a fascinating process.
Yeah.
The end result ended up being we did get approved. However, Mod Wash, our tenant specifically, pulled out of the market
Mm.
and we ended up switching the car wash concept. So now it's Splash Car Wash.
Okay.
And we had to go back through and adjust the site plan, which was a little painful, but not as painful as I guess originally anticipated. But it's Splash Car Wash there
Yeah.
now in Springfield, Massachusetts, and I hope that they are very successful there because
Yeah, I love having the real life examples because that's the way I learn. Being able to, if you give me just concept, like I can get there eventually, but like storytelling is just so incredibly powerful.
with these developments, I think from the outside, people have no idea what someone is going through
Yeah,
to just get the town or the city to allow them to build that.
yeah,
The amount of public hearings that people go through, the amount of people that show up and disagree and
yeah.
bring a letter. Like people will stand up and open a letter and read it in a public hearing about why you shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Just
Well, I find lots of times those people don't have a lot of time on their or have a lot of time on their hands, but then also are very operating from an emotional standpoint. And then lots of times they're the same people that are complaining about the potholes in town
yes.
when you don't realize that this development will bring higher property taxes, higher sales
Mhm.
taxes, so that some of the issues that you're also complaining about can be addressed.
Yes, I new developments. Obviously, I'm very pro development, but I mean, I think there are a lot of pros that people overlook. If the car wash wasn't there, you'd be neighboring like an abandoned building.
Mm.
What happens to abandoned buildings? Vandals, like
Yep.
homeless people.
Yeah.
Now you would be living next to a building that's attracting homeless people and
I have one of those listings right now
yeah, so
with the building
yeah,
next
I
door.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I've had them. You get the copper stolen off all the buildings. That's what happens when it's vacant.
Yeah.
And that's not a
Fires.
safe scenario.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just want to ask one more question before we wrap up. I've really enjoyed our time together today, but what lessons have shaped how your national expansion strategy has been with your firm?
Yes, great question. And I think overall, it's communication and doing your best not to burn any bridges, no
Mm,
matter if it's with the seller, buyer, client, tenant, broker, because again, the world is small. You will run into them again,
yeah.
and you'll try to do business with them again. I have had contracts terminate and then 6 months later, that same client said, let's go back to that site and see if they'll get
Yeah.
under contract with us.
Yeah.
So, in a scenario like that, you want to be able to have hoped that you
Mm,
terminated the contract respectfully
yes.
so that I can recreate that
Correct.
opportunity again for our client.
Yep.
And so I think communication, being respectful, just being courteous, and being a person that people want to work with
Yeah.
is so valuable because
Agreed.
this is a hard industry. It's a
It
hard
is.
business. Stuff happens all the time. Deals
Yeah.
die all the time.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody that people enjoy working with, we'll all get over it because it's
Yeah.
nice. But if they actually see you again, if I see Caleb again, oh, we were on that deal that died, but oh, he's got a new opportunity. Awesome. Loves
Yes.
working with him. He had
Yes.
great communication. He brought a great client to the
Yeah.
site. Like I think that's valuable, and that's how you make
Yeah.
more opportunities happen.
I couldn't agree with you more because that you're exactly right. People remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And if you're mad about a deal and it didn't go through, I take the mindset of if it's not right for my client, then I need to push my ego aside and my need for a check
Yeah.
to the back burner and come with the energy of, hey, how I treat this person is going to come back around. And actually, I've got a listing right now, a prime listing that I just listed about a month ago. 3 years ago, I sold the property to the current owner. She had different representation. When it came time for her to decide to sell because they moved back home, she called me, not the person who helped her buy, you
Yeah, there
know?
you
And
go.
so
Yes.
it's like prime example of how our professionalism and I think competence is huge. And when we don't know, being humble enough to say, I don't know, let me find out for you. And that's where that relationship side of things comes in. Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to pull into the conversation, etc. But Brittany, thank you for being with us. Where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me at msquarecommercial.com. I am also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and you can reach out anytime by email, call, text. I try to be as available as I can.
Awesome. Thank you again so much. This has been just a wonderful time with you. And thanks for all the insight you brought to us and our listeners.
Thanks, Caleb.
If today's episode gave you valuable commercial real estate insights, subscribe, rate, and share it. Connect with me and the David Commercial Real Estate team through the show notes. Remember, real estate is more than buildings. It's about building community. See you next time.